Hey everyone, in this video we are going to focus on the preparation for the role of software engineering and how you can not be panicked at the end of your third year or the beginning of your fourth year where the companies start coming and you are not sure like what they are going to be asking and how exactly you should prepare your projects and all those things. So to make this simple, what I have done here is I have broken down your college semesters in terms as part of terms and not terms, it's quarters. Like every quarter will be 3 months, and I have set some predefined goals which you should be focusing from day one of your college so that as soon as you join college, you should start picking and trying to achieve these goals as soon as possible. So, for the first quarter in your college, like this is going to be the first 3 months of your first semester, what you should really do is you should really decide on a programming language, and this is going to be an object oriented programming language which you will be learning for the next 3 months. Now, here, this decision needs to be very precise. I recommend you to choose a mainstream programming language like a C++, Java, or a C Sharp because this language is going to be sticking with you for the next 2 to 3 years throughout the interview preparation, and this is going to be a deciding factor on what exactly you will be working on post the post finishing your fourth year of your college. So let's say we pick Java for this for a use case for this video, and you can basically search for technologies which are relevant for your programming language. Let's say you pick C++ or C Sharp. You can search for equivalent technologies there. But I will try to make this video as generic as possible so that anyone can follow this. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is you have decided on this programming language called Java, and the first thing which you will be doing is learning the basics of Java. And for this, the book I recommend you will be Head First Java. The objective of this task will be to learn to write basic Java programs and basic for loops, if statements, else conditions, and switch cases, like every basic programming fundamentals. Like you should be able to build logic with this. Like any school level problems or jigs for jigs, you should be able to solve after going through basic Java. After that, what I ask you to focus on is learning the object-oriented programming. It comes very late. I have seen that in the college curriculum, it comes somewhere in the fourth semester or the fifth in the beginning of the fifth semester. But it's really too late there. Like you should really start from the first semester in the first quarter, like learning object-oriented programming there and there itself. So after you have learned object-oriented programming, oh sorry, I forgot to mention that to learn the object-oriented programming, you can follow Head First Object-Oriented Design and Analysis. I will tag that book in the description. So once you have focused on the basics of Java and learned the object-oriented design, it's really like going through the topics again and again in the span of 3 months so that you basically build all your confidence with all those topics. The key areas to focus in object-oriented programming will be learning to use encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, and all these things using your programming language of your choice. Now, after you are done with solid principles, I recommend you to learn JUnit. For learning JUnit, you can buy any Udemy course to learn JUnit or any any YouTube channel you can refer to learn JUnit as well. And once you know how to write a JUnit test case for the code you have written, the next step comes where you actually try to deep dive into the advanced software engineering principles where from OOPS, you now start learning solid principles. So solid principles are really required when you are trying to do a clean low level design for your software application. And so after learning the JUnit side of things, like you now know how to write a unit test for the code you have written, it's really time for you to start and learn solid principles. I have a playlist on solid principles on my channel. You can refer that as well, or you can pick a book by Sir Robert Martin. The book is called Agile Software Development, and it explains in a very uh, good detail like what solid principle is. You can also refer to videos by Uncle Bob for learning solid principles. So see, the what I am trying to cover as the first part in the first quarter is I'm trying to cover the low level design side of things, where like whenever you are trying to design an application, what is the uh, low level tools you need. Like you need solid principles, you need object oriented programming, you need to learn basic Java, you need to know how the program flow works and all those things. Okay, so once you have done that, all you have to do is you need to practice like designing different applications. Like you can practice designing chess, designing Ludo, designing snake and ladder, or any kind of application you want to put. You can pick and you can build on top of those. There is one other book which I highly recommend you to read in your early days in this first quarter. That book is called Clean Code, and it is also written by Uncle Bob, and it's a very good book on how you should be structuring your code and writing your code as clean and as clean as possible. So I think this will take you around 3 months to 4 months, depending on what your speed is. But if you cover these things, you are really very much prepared on the side of low level design for interview. Okay, so for the next quarter, what we will be doing is we will be focusing more on the view side of things. Like in the first quarter, what we did was focus on the logic, how to build the logic and how to structure the code and all those things. In this quarter, what we are trying to do is we are trying to learn how to create views, how to create the UI, the user interfaces for the software, right? And the correct language to do this is HTML and CSS. And the objective of this quarter is that if you are given any website, let's say I give you YouTube, or let's say I give you WhatsApp, or any given user interface, you should be able to structure or at least make it similar using only HTML and CSS. Okay, so once you are done with HTML and CSS, I suggest you to pick a JavaScript as well. And like you can either learn the latest frameworks in JavaScript like React or Vue.js to further enhance your capabilities with the Vue side of the things. So far we have in the last 6 months of the roadmap we have discussed, and we have talked about how you will be preparing for the low level design side of things and how you will be preparing for creating the Vue, right? So let's talk about the third term now, or the third semester. And this will really be focused on building the project and building your portfolio. So far, whatever the skill set you have learned, like Java, HTML, CSS, or any programming language you might have picked for yourself, right? We will be building projects from second year itself, or from the third semester itself, to be able to showcase these projects in the final year. You can like use it both ways. You can use it as your final year project, or you can also show this project as part of your campus interviews and get hired. Before making any actual projects, right, like just by using Java or just by using JavaScript, you cannot make very good projects. So what I suggest you to do is like start building a niche from this time now, because it is very important to identify yourself, like what exactly you will be doing. And it's very easy to get a job if you start focusing on one particular domain of the software engineering industry. Now, this is a very important decision because a lot of students are scared, like, okay, if I pick up a domain, I will be stuck with that domain for a really long time and will not be able to come out of it. So the easy way to solve this problem is that pick a domain which can be transferred to any other domain, and the skills are transferable to any other technology you want. And as part of this, I would really and highly likely to suggest you to pick distributed systems development or backend or website development or web app development, anything, you can call it anything. But at the end, what you will be doing is you will be having a user interface side of things, you will be having a backend side of things, and you will be having a database side of things, and all of these three things will be interconnected to each other. Now, the important part with this is, like, if you, let's say in future you have to go to Android, or let's say some platform development like iPhone or Android, you can just need to change the view side of the things and the rest of the things remains the same. So it's really a good choice to master web application development, where you pick your view as the browser view, and which can be in future replaced with any other view you want, because all the other things will remain same, right? So what I was talking about, that it's not easy to build the entire project only using the native programming language like Java or JavaScript. So I want you to focus and start learning how to make web services using Java. So this will be the backend side of your project, and also learn like how to make component driven designs using React.js. Or if you want to skip this also, that's fine. Like, you can pick any technology to build your views, but I highly recommend that you use, if you're using JavaScript, really go for React to build your components and build your views, right? And apart from this, what you need to learn is like calling your backend from your front end. It's like, so that you can connect these two together. Similarly, I want you to learn one database like MySQL or MongoDB or any database you want. But the intention behind this is that you have a proper end-to-end connectivity from the client side to the DB and then again back to the client. So if you have this entire flow covered, it is very easy to demonstrate in an interview that you are highly likely to be joining the team and be able to be productive from day one. So that's what the intent is. So the first 3 months, the first 3 months of the next quarter, you have to uh, really focus on learning the frameworks. And I can tell you the frameworks, if you are from Java background, like for the backend for Java, you can start learning the Spring framework for building the REST web APIs. And for JavaScript, you can go with React. And with database, you can pick, like, if you pick MySQL, it's fine. If you pick MongoDB, it's fine. Like, doesn't matter, as long as it's a prototype project, should not be a problem. Now let's talk about the project sides of the thing, which will be focusing on the next term, which is the term 4. And this term is entirely focusing on building your project, and you have 6 months to build your project. And this is the fourth semester in your 4-year curriculum. So in this term, what I suggest you to build is, if you have 3 projects to show off, it's very good. It's considered good. And what the kind of project I will be suggesting you is, like, have one end-to-end project which has a user interface, has a web service backend, and has a database. Like, this will really demonstrate your skill, that you know the end-to-end flow and you know how things work. The second part of the project, like, don't bother building a lot of projects. It's more about the quality of the project rather than the quantity of the project. So if the quality of your project is really good and it covers all the scenarios, you don't need to worry about, like, only having 2 projects or only having 3 projects, right? So for the next part, like for the next project, what you can do is, like, you can build a WhatsApp clone, or you can build a YouTube clone to showcase the UI side of things, like that you know how to make, like, given a page or given a diagram, this shows your ability to convert it into UI. And for the third part of the project, I will highly suggest you that you try to host your project, any of the available cloud provider, and you can go online and check and how to host your project. And it really shows that you have the operational skills to get your project live and get it hosted and serve the traffic. So you can mention that these three things, that you have one end-to-end project, you have one clone project, and you have also the operational skills to take that project and host it live. So these show very good strengths. Now we are into the third year. So here the things are really serious because you only have 1 year for the campus interviews, because the companies start coming from the beginning of your fourth year. And most of the format of the companies are like, in the first round they will be asking data structures and algorithms related questions, and in the second round they will be focusing on the project sides of things and the design sides of things. And so far I have not talked about the data structure side of things, I know that. And it does not mean that you have to start the data structure preparation from third year. It certainly don't mean that. I just wanted to cover a lot of things on the design side. But let's talk about the data structure side. And so what I want to say is that your first year, second year, and third year, all these 3 years are entirely going to be overloaded with data structures and algorithms preparation. And by data structures, I really don't mean that you go and start coding on CodeChef or any other competitive programming platforms. Like, that's not our, you know, our objective, because that's a different ball game. Like, being good in a competitive programming scenario and being able to crack software engineering interviews are two different things, and we really want to pick our fights wisely and don't waste time on the other things which are not helping. Like, you might argue with me that no, competitive programming is a good way to prepare for software engineering interviews, but no, it's not, because it really doesn't uh, teaches you the skills you need to be a successful software engineer. It's just a sport where you are solving a mathematically complicated problem within a limited time frame, and that's not the entire flow of the like 10,000 feet overview of successful software engineer. There is a lot more to solving the problem and delivering it. So what we will be focusing on, the kinds of data structures and algorithm related problems which are useful in a software engineering interview uh, preset. So let's say the most popular website for preparing for any software engineering interview is LeetCode.com, and you should really start grinding LeetCode from the day one of your college, or as soon as you start feeling comfortable with your programming basics for the first language you pick. Let's say you pick Java, and after 2 months, if you're feeling a little comfortable with the programming basics, you should really start to go for and start solving the easy problems on LeetCode. And the way I suggest is that uh, from the third year, you have 52 weeks in that year, and every week you have to have one mock interview in the third year itself. So before reaching the first day or of your fourth year, you should have already been gone through 50 mock interviews for software engineering, and you should really know that, okay, what are the areas that you lack. And like it should be really like you should have failed 50 software engineering interviews or tried to pass 50 software engineering interviews, and that will make a very big difference when it comes to actual and original interviews, because you will be really prepared. Like, you will be knowing ins and outs of what exactly happens in a software engineering interview. So once you have done that, you have this schedule of a weekly mock interview for data structures, algorithms, and project review or design interview, and you are solving the data structures and algorithms related questions every single day. Like, I suggest you that you solve at least 5 to 6 problems in a day for data structures and algorithms, and you should basically be solving 3 to 4 new problems and practicing 5 to 6 old problems which you have already solved. And By practicing, I mean writing it down every single day, like writing it down on paper with a pen every single day for the rest of your 3 years or 4 year college curriculum. Like it should be like you should fill registers and registers of copies filled with code, all with pen. Like there is no other way, right? So once you have the habit of solving lead code problems or algorithm problems, this is where actually it starts to show up and the knowledge starts to add up. Where I said that you should learn clean coding, you should learn solid principles, and all these things you should start applying to your lead code solutions as well, and try to make them as clean as possible and as extensible as possible, so that it actually reflects in the interview that you are not just solving the problem, you are giving an excellent, beautiful and elegant solution towards the problem, which can withhold future changes as well, right? So finally, if you have gone through this entire flow, like I will be covering in detail exactly the data structure and algorithm part in a different separate video, because this video will get very long. And for the fourth year, I think what you should do is you should keep striving and keep on focusing on off-campus interviews, and you should definitely prepare a cover letter documenting everything what you have done for the last 3 years and how you have prepared and what everything. So the cover letter should definitely cover like what is it that you can provide for the company, like what are the skills you have and what can you do if you are hired, like what are the services you are providing. So these are the key highlights in your cover letter which you should document, and you should be sending this cover letter to every single recruiter or every single startup you are applying for. Now, there are two categories of students: one who get lucky and get into good colleges where for campus placements very good companies come, and then there are some students who are not so lucky in getting the good college, and the campus placement is not so good. So for that, I will highly suggest you that you really focus on off-campus interviews and really focus on a job which is asking for a niche you have been developing for the last 3 years, because it is going to have a much better quality of job in your niche rather than just joining something random and let the company decide what you will be doing for the rest of your life. So once you have gone through all this preparation roadmap and you actually know what you're doing, the only thing which remains is that you have to keep applying and keep preparing for the startups. Like there are so many startups which are coming every single day and with lots of job opportunities. So what you really have to strive for is to be confident enough to go to them and tell them that you are the person who can actually do the job which is required, like building the service. The whole part of this 3 year or 4 year journey is to build the confidence that you are not a fresher in software engineering. You have the skills and you have the experience to just be productive from day one. So that's it for this video. If you agree with me, then give me a like. If you don't agree with me, give me a dislike. If you have any questions or queries, you can post it in your comments. And if you want me to keep posting these videos, subscribe. Bye.